morning, everybody. Welcome to you all and welcome to everyone on Zoom. Today's service invites us into the wilderness, especially the desert, as a sacred space where the divine is encountered and the soul is transformed. The service was written by Steve and he's asked the congregation to deliver it. It will be in 3 parts and includes some Bible readings, appropriate music, and video clips. The desert holds profound symbolic and historical significance across the 3 Abrahamic faiths, shaping their sacred narratives, theological insights, and spiritual practices. These faiths, all forged in the desert, are the majority religion of nearly 60% of the global population. Jews constitute the smallest percentage at about 0.2%. Muslims are next at about 25%, and Christians the largest at around 33%. We will also explore the desert as a spiritual metaphor, recognizing that many of us experience seasons in life that feel like a wilderness, times of uncertainty, searching, or spiritual dryness. We start, as always, with the lighting of our chalice as a symbol of our 3 religious faiths. And Crystal will come up and light the chalice for me. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you. And you know, I never do it. I always get someone else to do it. Well done. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Crystal. Our opening words are taken from Psalm 63, a psalm of David from the Hebrew Bible. Near the end of his life, King David flees his capital, Jerusalem, seeking sanctuary in the Judean desert after his son Absalom attempts a palace coup. King David uses the metaphor of the desert to express his despair at his circumstances and pleading for God's comfort. You, God, are my God. Earnestly I seek you. I thirst for you. My whole being longs for you in a dry and parched land where there is no water. And we'll have our first hymn, and I know you're going to sing really beautifully. And it's number 33 in the Green Book, Do You Hear? The words will come up on the screen, and stand if you're able.
Rain
So in the first part of the service, we will look at the wilderness and the birth of Judaism. Arguably, the most important figure in Judaism is Moses, and the most significant wilderness is the Sinai Desert. It is in this desert that Moses encounters God for the first time, appearing as a burning bush that is not consumed by the flames. Moses, once a prince of Egypt, had fled the country after killing an Egyptian who was beating a Hebrew slave. Seeking refuge, he settled in the land of Midian, where he married and became a shepherd. Years later, God speaks to Moses and commands him to return to Egypt to lead the Israelites out of slavery. This marks the beginning of the Exodus, a defining narrative of liberation and identify formation for the Jewish people. The desert is not merely a geographical location. It becomes the spiritual landscape where Jewish identity, law, and the covenant with God are forged. The Israelites spent 40 years wandering in the wilderness, guided by a pillar of cloud and fire. In biblical terms, the number 40 is symbolic. It represents a significant transformative period rather than a precise count of years. While God initially tried to build a relationship with humanity in the lush paradise of the Garden of Eden, that attempt failed. So God tries again, but this time in the harsh, barren desert. The Exodus becomes a spiritual test, a journey of struggle, purification, and growth. In this wilderness, God provides sustenance in the form of a miraculous food called manna and water from rocks. The Hebrew word manna is said to derive from the people's astonishment when they first saw this food from heaven. Mahu means what is in it in Hebrew. Despite these miracles, the Israelites proved themselves to be a faithless and ungrateful people. In the wilderness, we witness both the highest and lowest points in early Jewish religious history. The high point is Mount Sinai, where the Israelites receive the Torah and Moses is given the 10 Commandments. In Arabic, Mount Sinai is called Jabal Musa, the mountain of Moses. Its exact location is disputed, with some proposing sites in the Sinai Peninsula and others in modern-day Saudi Arabia. The giving of the 10 Commandments marks a monumental moment in Judeo-Christian history. It is a moment when a covenant between God and his people is solidified. These commandments have significantly influenced the moral and legal frameworks of Western civilization for thousands of years. The first 4 commandments concern the relationship between humans and God, while the remaining 6 guide human interactions with one another. The lowest spiritual moment in the desert came when the Israelites fashioned and worshipped the golden calf, a blatant act of idolatry, as Exodus 20, verse 23 states, "Do not make any gods to be alongside me. Do not make for yourselves gods of silver or gods of gold." To this day, the shofar, a ritual musical instrument used in Jewish ceremonies, cannot be made from the horn of any animal from the bovine family, oxen, bulls, or cows. The preferred material is a ram's horn, linking back to this tragic episode. Another key symbol from the wilderness is the Ark of the Covenant, which holds the stone tablets of the 10 Commandments, a jar of manna, and Aaron's rod. The ark was originally kept in the tabernacle during the Exodus period in the desert. This was a portable sanctuary, the dwelling place of God, which later evolved into the temple in Jerusalem. The ark was perhaps the closest physical representation of God's presence on earth. A divine weapon with supernatural power, it was believed to guarantee victory for the Israelites in battle. It was guarded by angels and so powerful a force that even an accidental touch would strike you dead. It parted the Jordan River, brought down the walls of Jericho, and caused both plague and fear amongst Israel's premier enemy, the Philistines. Constructed at Mount Sinai under the direction of Bezalel, a skilled artisan, it seems to have been based on ancient Egyptian portable barks, boat-shaped shrines which carried images of gods in religious processions. It vanished after the Babylonian destruction of the first temple in Jerusalem in 587 BCE. Its final location remains unknown, giving rise to countless theories. Buried beneath the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, hidden in Ethiopia, or did the prophet Jeremiah hide the ark in a cave somewhere in the desert to be revealed at the end of time? In both religious and pop culture, the ark has taken on legendary status, even being immortalized in the greatest adventure film ever, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Set in 1936, this film follows swashbuckling American archaeologist Dr. Henry Indiana Jones in his race against the Nazis to recover the Ark. Hitler was obsessed with the occult and religious artifacts, including the Spear of Destiny, the Holy Lance, or Spear of Longinus, which was used to pierce the side of Jesus at the crucifixion. In the film, the Nazis are after the Ark to harness its power for world domination. In the end, they open the Ark. Its power proves real and devastating. The film subtly reinforces the idea that some mysteries are beyond human control and should be left well alone. There's a multitude of books, TV, documentaries, and podcasts about the Ark, and it even makes an appearance in a video game called Assassin's Creed. But the piece de resistance is a documentary-style TV show called Ancient Aliens, which really must be seen to be believed, and you can watch it on the History Channel. It explores and claims various unexplained phenomena, ancient myths, and historical mysteries are linked to extraterrestrials. One episode claims the Ark is an alien power source of weapon given to the Israelites by an extraterrestrial species. Makes you think, doesn't it? It states the advanced electrical or radioactive technology around the Ark would have been beyond ancient humans' building skills. Of the 24 books in the Hebrew Bible, or what we used to call the Old Testament, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers are set in the desert. Deuteronomy is set on the edge of the Promised Land, and the book of Joshua is a transitional one. Several important Jewish festivals were first celebrated in the desert: Passover and Sukkot. Passover, or Pesach, is a celebration of their deliverance from slavery in Egypt. Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles, or Booths, is one of the 3 pilgrimage festivals for Jews and celebrates the wilderness period when they lived in temporary shelters called booths. If you ever visit Israel in Sukkot, you will see these booths. Simple outdoor huts with a roof made of natural materials like palm branches or bamboo everywhere. You'll find them on apartment balconies, communal courtyards, even hotels have them for guests. Many Jews celebrate this festival with a meal in the booths. The roof must allow you to see the stars, but provide some shade during the day. It is a joyful festival, sometimes called Seman Simchatenu, the time of our rejoicing, showing that joy and gratitude are possible even in the wilderness. An important spiritual lesson. The desert served as a sanctuary for many other biblical figures in the Hebrew Bible as well. David fled there to escape King Saul, as well as his son Absalom. The prophet Elijah found refuge there when fleeing Queen Jezebel, and it is the backdrop for the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, where Lot's wife famously turned into a pillar of salt. To summarize, for Judaism, the desert was not just a physical location. It was a crucible of faith, a place of testing, revelation, rebellion, and ultimately transformation. A people were born, a law was given, and a covenant was sealed. We now have our second hymn, which is the purple book, number 35, Find a Stillness, and the words will come on the screen again. And Sheila is now going to come and do a reading.
Our Bible reading is the parable of the Good Samaritan in the Gospel of Luke 10, verses 25 to 37, where Jesus taught us to love our neighbour. And Steve chose this because it is set in the wilderness of the Judean desert, linked to the next part of our service. And who is my neighbour? In reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he travelled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, He took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. "Look after him," he said, "and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have." Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbour to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? The expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." This is Steve's commentary on this piece. The road from Jerusalem to Jericho through the Judean desert was notoriously dangerous, making it a frequent site for robberies. It was not advisable to travel alone, and most people travelled in groups for safety. The characters in the parable, the priest, the Levite, and the Samaritan, are deliberately chosen by Jesus. Priests and Levites were the Jewish elite, respected and intimidating figures, expected to uphold the law, to be above reproach, to set an example. Their failure to assist the injured man speaks volumes. They surely knew the man would die if they did nothing to help. Perhaps they were afraid he was a decoy, a trap to lure them over to be robbed. The one who did help and took this risk was a Samaritan, despised by Jews due to historical and religious animosities. The Samaritan would have been shunned by Jewish society, possibly even by the injured man himself. His actions therefore are striking and emphasize that true neighbourly love transcends all ethnic and religious boundaries. I'm sure we can all think of modern day interpretations of this parable. Palestinians and Israelis, for example, or Protestants and Catholics during the Troubles. It's amazing that a parable written over 2,000 years ago can still hold such a powerful message today. It's a terrible name for a parable, as it is saying all other Samaritans are bad, a bit like the parable of the good Unitarian, like the rest of us are awful people, but it makes a point.
Thank you, Sheila. And we're now going to have a short music break. The music is an acoustic ambient piece played on I might have the pronunciation wrong, Aeolian harp. It is music made by nature and not a man-made piece. It was created by the desert wind in the Negev desert in southern Israel. And it's called My Harp, played by the wind in the Negev desert. Enjoy. that hauntingly beautiful? In the next part of our service, we'll explore the concept of the wilderness in Christianity. In the New Testament, the wilderness refers to the Judean desert, located in the eastern part of the Holy Land. It stretches from Jerusalem to the Dead Sea and covers about 580 square miles. It's tiny, but vicious. Remarkably, it's one of the most elevation diverse deserts in the world, starting at over 800 meters above sea level and plunging to 430 meters below sea level at the Dead Sea, the lowest place on earth. This is a harsh, rugged, inhospitable and barren landscape, filled with wadis, cliffs and caves, a place perfectly suited for spiritual testing, solitude and isolation. The Dead Sea itself has an almost apocalyptic landscape, its lifeless and otherworldly appearance surrounded by strange crystalline shapes made of salt, makes it alien terrain. The stench of sulfur can be so strong it makes you gag, and the sea itself is poisonous in its saltiness, its pure malevolence. The Judean desert features prominently in the New Testament. Jericho, located nearby, is where Jesus met the tax collector Zacchaeus. The road through the desert is also the setting for the parable of the Good Samaritan, which we have heard just earlier. It's also the place where John the Baptist preached and baptized, including the baptism of Jesus in the Jordan River. And perhaps most famously, it's where Jesus was tempted in the wilderness. At the time of Jesus, the Judean desert was a hub of intense religious activity, beginning with the Essenes, or Essenes, different pronunciations, a Jewish sect during the Second Temple period. The Essenes rejected the temple cult in Jerusalem, which they viewed as corrupt. Instead, they withdrew to the desert to separate themselves from the world, awaiting what they believed was an imminent apocalypse and the coming of a messianic figure who would usher in a cosmic battle and the end of the world. Does that sound familiar? If they existed today, we might call them a doomsday cult. In the desert, the Essenes formed a strict ascetic community. They are widely believed to be the authors and custodians of the Dead Sea Scrolls, a collection of about 900 ancient Jewish texts discovered between the late 1940s and mid-1950s in caves near Qumran, their desert headquarters. Their community was destroyed in the brutal wars with Rome between 70 to 73 CE, and they disappeared from history until their texts were rediscovered nearly 2,000 years later. In 1947, a Palestinian shepherd searching for a lost sheep stumbled upon a clay jar containing some of the scrolls. The dry desert conditions had perfectly preserved the parchment, papyrus, and even copper scrolls. This discovery is considered one of the greatest archaeological finds of the 20th century, even surpassing the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. Today, you can view some of these scrolls at the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, in a building known as the Shrine of the Book. Its white dome is designed to resemble the lid of the jars in which the scrolls were hidden. We'll now watch a short clip about the shrine in the rock.
It might not look like much, but it's the only copy in the world of an ancient text retelling the stories in the first book of the Bible, Genesis. And it's on display at the Shrine of the Book in Jerusalem's Israel Museum.
For the first time ever, we put on display column 10 of this manuscript. It's a document written in Aramaic from 2,000 years ago, and specifically this manuscript is telling the story about Noah.
The parchment is so fragile, it can only be viewed for 30 seconds at a time at the press of a button. It's from a section of the Genesis Apocryphon, one of the 7 scrolls found in 1947 in caves on the northwestern shores of the Dead Sea. The Genesis Apocryphon is among some of the earliest known copies of biblical texts. Many of the Dead Sea Scrolls outline the beliefs of a mysterious Jewish sect that dwelled in the area thousands of years ago.
Dead Sea Scrolls, they come from a very significant period of time, out of which the historical Judaism and Christianity emerge. So in this sense, the Dead Sea Scrolls is like traveling into the tunnel of time, reaching the real people who live in the land of Israel 2,000 years ago.
Another exhibit at the museum looks at the incredible history behind the scrolls and the long journey they made all the way from the caves in Qumran to the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. In 1947, Bedouin shepherds stumble upon the precious manuscripts in a series of caves in the Judean desert. Mohammed Adib and his cousin Juma Mohammed found the scrolls in jars and sold them to antiquities dealers. Archaeologists later returned to Qumran and continued excavations, finding thousands of written fragments.
The Dead Sea Scrolls is a major discovery. Some people argue that it is the most important archaeological discovery in the world in the 20th century.
So interesting to see that. The Essenes are deeply relevant to Christianity. John the Baptist was likely influenced by them, and possibly even a member before beginning his own ministry. Though Jesus himself is not believed to have been an Essene, their values and lifestyle, especially their emphasis on asceticism and spiritual discipline, deeply influenced the early Christian monastic movement. From the 3rd and 4th century CE, inspired by figures like John the Baptist and Jesus, Christian hermits and monks began settling in the Judean desert, founding monasteries, some of which are even active today. John the Baptist holds a pivotal role in Christian history. He is seen as the forerunner of Jesus, fulfilling the prophecy from Isaiah 40, verse 3, a voice of one calling in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord. His message, like the Essenes, was a call to leave the corruption of the world and return to God in the desert. His lifestyle was a radical rejection of materialism and luxury, clothes made of camel's hair and a leather belt, locusts and honey as food. His entire being was a living sermon. John's baptism of Jesus in the Jordan River marks the beginning of Jesus' public ministry. This event is foundational to Christian theology, as all 3 persons of the Trinity are present. God the Father, the voice from heaven, Jesus the Son being baptized, the Holy Spirit descending like a dove. Immediately after his baptism, the Holy Spirit leads Jesus into the wilderness for 40 days and nights of fasting and testing, a period of spiritual preparation before his ministry began. The number 40, as stated earlier, is symbolic and used throughout the Bible, echoing the 40 years the Israelites wandered in the Sinai. During this time, Jesus is tempted by the devil with 3 offers. 3 is also an important number in the Bible. So the 3 offers: turn stones into bread, power over hunger. Throw yourself from the temple, power over nature and protection. Worship Satan and rule the world, power over earthly kingdoms. Each of these temptations reflect the Jewish expectation of a divinic Messiah, a powerful political leader who would free them from Roman rule and restore Israel. In essence, the devil is offering Jesus the role of that Messiah on a plate. Control hunger, display miraculous powers, rule all nations. But Jesus resists. And like the Israelites in the desert, he remains faithful, obedient, and fully reliant on God. The desert continues to play a central role in Christian spirituality. From the 3rd century CE, as Christianity became favoured in the Roman Empire, many believers chose to withdraw from society, to live in the desert, seeking lives of solitude, silence, and spiritual depth. These were the desert fathers and mothers. The ascetic lifestyle becomes the new form of martyrdom as persecution of Christianity ceased. They laid the foundations for Christian mysticism, for the emptiness of the desert invites vision, real or hallucinatory. Key figures included Antony the Great, often called the father of monasticism, Pachomius, who founded the first organized monastic communities with shared rules like the earlier Essenes. Unlike individual hermits, these were structured communities of faith and discipline. In summary, the Judean desert remains a place of spiritual significance, a landscape where prophets were formed, where battles of the soul were fought, and where the silence of the wilderness continues to echo God's voice. We're now going to watch a short clip of St. George's Monastery in the Judean desert. It gives a vivid sense of the landscape where Jesus' wilderness temptation would have taken place. I don't think Many of us thought of the desert like that. That landscape is really scary. So we'll have our third hymn, number 21 in the purple hymn book, Come and Find the Quiet Centre. In the final part of our service, we'll explore the concept of the wilderness in Islam, and lastly, as a spiritual metaphor. Islam emerged in the Arabian Peninsula in the 7th century CE. The Prophet Muhammad was born in Mecca, a desert trade hub, and received his earliest revelations whilst living among the Bedouins, traders and city dwellers, in this harsh and unforgiving environment. The desert became a cradle of revelation, a space for divine communication, as the Quran, Islam's holiest book, was revealed. It was in the cave of Hira, in the mountains near the desert outside Mecca, where the Prophet would often retreat to meditate and pray. Another significant connection between Islam and the desert involves Hagar, the concubine and wife of the Prophet Abraham, known in Islam as Ibrahim. By divine command, Hagar and her son Ishmael, were left in the desert by Abraham. Her desperate search for water led to the miraculous appearance of a life-saving spring, the well of Zamzam, which ensured their survival. It's a similar story to the Israelites being sustained by water from a rock in the Sinai. And then, of course, there are the 5 pillars of Islam, which include the pilgrimage to Mecca. For Muslims, this desert pilgrimage, known as the Hajj, is the most important spiritual journey of their lives. Islam emphasizes egalitarianism. All people are equal before God, regardless of race, wealth, or social status. This can be seen in the clothing worn by men during the Hajj pilgrimage. The men wear 2 simple, white, unstitched cloths to symbolize purity, equality, and the renunciation of worldly distinctions. In a desert region where everyone faced the same harsh and unforgiving conditions, community, solidarity, and hospitality became an essential tool for survival. In summary, the desert in Islam, like in Judaism and Christianity, is a place of trial, faith, and divine communication. The desert's vastness and solitude symbolize spiritual purification and closeness to God, a theme echoed in the rituals of the Hajj pilgrimage, where millions of Muslims journey to reconnect with their faith in this sacred landscape. And lastly, is your faith journey feeling like a desert? Has your spiritual fervour dried up? Something to think about. What steps might you take to get back on track? Running away to live as a hermit in the desert might sound dramatic, and honestly, is not the best advice for the congregation, especially based on our average age. There are gentler, more practical ways to reconnect with your spiritual path. For most of us attending church in person here in Plymouth, life in a relatively large city means we're surrounded by constant noise, traffic, music blaring, construction everywhere, especially next door at the moment. It's relentless. Steve said that during the lockdown of 2020, his normally lively city centre neighbourhood became uncannily silent. He said he found it slightly unsettling, which can happen in a city where noise is the norm. He once stayed at a relative's house in the countryside in Scotland, where it was so quiet that he couldn't sleep. It felt very alien and eerie. But it's not just the physical noise, it's the digital noise that surrounds us. Phones and emails buzzing, social media apps demanding attention. Even in church, phones ring and ping. To find your way back spiritually, you need to create the right conditions. Primarily, this means cultivating quietness, removing distractions. Silence is essential for deep reflection. Just as geography and the environment shaped religions, from the desert monotheism of the Abrahamic three to the animism of forest-dwelling peoples, your environment will shape you. To quote our last hymn, come and find the quiet centre in the crowded life we lead. Clear the chaos and the clutter, clear our eyes that we can see. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. Your inner voice sharpens. In the silence, we often find what's been drowned out. Spiritual awakenings happen here. So how can you quieten the noise? Consider a technology detox. Cut back on watching the news. It's often distressing. A quote from Twitter that Steve liked was, "Sometimes I have to turn off the news and put on a serial killer documentary so I can relax." Take a break from social media for a few days or a week, especially if you're a Twitter or Instagram addict. Try reading a short passage from a spiritual or religious book each day. Sometimes a single passage speaks directly to your heart, just like a church service can sometimes. Meditation can also bring calm and clarity. Nature is a wonderful healer. Take a walk outside. The fresh air and natural beauty can be deeply uplifting, even in winter. Nature is like a sacred text. The resilience and cycles of life offer comfort and hope. Listen to the birds, observe the trees, seas, or rivers. Ask yourself, what is nature teaching you? Even sitting in a garden can be relaxing, as sometimes you need the silence of plants to recover from the noise of humans. If you are able, consider a pilgrimage or a retreat. Whilst longer trips can be costly, even a day trip to places nearby, like Buckfast Abbey, Exeter, or Truro Cathedral, can refresh your spirit. Try some small behaviour changes. Be like a happy dog, joyfully greeting everyone you meet. I know that's easier said than done, but it's quite nice, isn't it? Talking to dogs. Perform a small act of kindness daily for a week or a month, expecting nothing in return. Acknowledge everyone you encounter with a smile or a simple hello. You might be the only person they speak to all day. Music can be a spiritual gateway. Sing or listen to songs that move you deeply. YouTube is a treasure chest to utilize in this scenario. If you feel comfortable, consider sharing your experiences with congregation, maybe at coffee time. Maybe in the future, we could hold a community service where we share personal spiritual exercises. You're not alone in this journey. Quiet the noise, open your heart, and rediscover your path. Our closing words are from the first book of Kings 19, verses 9 to 13 in the Hebrew Bible. We are doing well on Bible quotes today, aren't we? Brownie points. The prophet Elijah has fled into the wilderness to evade his archenemy, Queen Jezebel, who has vowed to find and kill him. He travels to Mount Horeb in the Sinai desert, the same place God spoke to Moses in a burning bush. Elijah encounters the Lord in the desert, but not in the manner he expects. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind tore the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, the sound of a low whisper. And behold, there came a voice to him and said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?"